Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Thursday, June 23rd. So we do have the moon in Aries, kind of still revving us up, firing us up in some positive ways, but also some frustrating and irritable kind of ways as well. Going void, of course, 4:03 a.m. and we'll be transiting in and locking into Taurus energy 7:59 a.m. So the moon in Taurus, we become a little bit down to earth, a little bit more grounded, a little bit more stable. We are definitely focused on our physical realms, our physical body, our physical circumstances. We kind of slow our roll. That moon in Aries definitely had us, just jumping on that gas. And of course, the irritability and frustration came because the universe does not support us in making the kind of progress, the kind of moves that the moon in Aries wanted us to make. So we do get to kind of slow down, reacclimate ourselves when the moon is in Taurus. We really do have to focus on what is making us happy, what is bringing us joy, focusing in on the silver linings of the situation. With the moon in Taurus, we definitely become a little bit more fixated on the here and now. And we definitely want to take a good look at the systems, the foundations, the routines, the relationships, the money matters in our physical circumstances. Again, we're still in the solstice energy, which means that things are just a swirling. We are definitely getting to work, recognizing what needs to stay, what needs to go, what needs to be built, what needs to be destroyed, and still fresh, acclimatizing to this Cancer energy. We're very focused on our home, on our family dynamics, on what it is that we need to do to implement some boundaries to ensure that we are as safe and secure and stable in our emotions as we possibly could be. So there are 8 different aspects taking place here today, and 5 of them involve the moon. The moon, while still in Aries energy, this is actually the last aspect that the moon in Aries will make before going void, of course, is a square, a conflict, a tension point with Pluto. Pluto, again, the god of the underworld, the great transformer himself, responsible for death and destruction in order to provide us with an opportunity for rebirth, renewal, resurrection. So Pluto is retrograde in Capricorn, really taking us on an inner journey of recognizing where it is that we failed to step up, where it is that we failed to have control, where it is that we failed to actually see ourselves as an authority figure. We are reflecting over past situations, past scenarios where we've given too much of our power away. This is to illuminate all of these kind of not so nice thoughts and feelings and memories in order for us to recognize where it is that we will not make those same mistakes, where it is that we will not run and hide from our power, from the opportunity to level up, from our opportunity to boss up and take the next level of authority. But here's the thing, this particular energy does have to kind of create that negative narrative, those negative thoughts, that darkness, that pain, that suffering, that trauma, in order for us to use that as inspiration and motivation to be better. The positive here is that the moon in Aries has no problem cutting the cord off with past situations and scenarios. The Aries energy really does not want to deal with the past, just wants to deal with this present moment and see some progress and some improvement. So the transformational energy that we're basically being provided an opportunity to work with here is going to be a good energy because the Aries energy is the warrior type of energy. We're bold, we're brave, we're courageous. We want to take the leadership role. We want new experiences. We don't really care about the rear view mirror to the past. We are focused on taking action, making big, bold, brave kinds of moves in order to align us with our power, with control, with authority over our future. So this is going to be a good vibe. It's just going to feel a little bit heavy. We have the moon now locking into Taurus energy. The moon in Taurus, the very first aspect that the moon in Taurus makes is with its ruler, Venus. Venus, as you know, is now in Gemini energy, moved into Gemini yesterday. This is actually the very first aspect that Venus in Gemini is going to be making. If you haven't listened to the astro forecast for what we can expect for the next couple of weeks with Venus being in Gemini, I'm going to recommend that you go ahead and do that. Unpack all of those details, all of those situations, all of those scenarios so that you can stay ahead of the game. So the moon in Taurus, very low, very slow, very grounded, very stable, very tunnel vision on the here and now, bumps into Venus in Gemini in such a way that we will likely be seeing this manifest as an outside trigger, as an outside activation, likely in a social situation or with a personal relationship. Now, Venus in Gemini is all about the mental connection, all about entering into conversation where we can debate things out, kind of bounce ideas off of other people. We're looking for intelligent intimacy. We are also looking to open our minds up to see things from a different perspective so that we can make a different choice point based off of what it is that we're now seeing, especially in our personal relationships. So the moon in Taurus wants us to be focused on where it is that we feel safe, secure, stable in our physical circumstances. Many of us not feeling that vibe right now. So Venus over here in Gemini has this upper hand, this observer mentality, where we're able to see things from a different perspective. And what we're kind of seeing now is the people, the places, the elements, the things that are not helping us to find that safety, that security, that stability in our emotions, in our physical circumstances, definitely in our personal relationships. This is going to create a little bit of a disconnect in our social scenes, even though we want to kind of put ourselves out there, we want to connect. This little, I'm going to say, aha moment of seeing people painted in their natural colors instead of the way that we've been painting them, it's just going to have us step back to debate the different perspectives. Again, Gemini energy, the twins, polarized, dualistic, opposing, extreme opinions, thoughts, ideas, points of view, in order for us to hash it out and find a brand new middle ground. The moon is going to sextile the sun. This is a beautiful aspect. A sextile is always a helping aspect, helps us to blend the energies of the two. And anytime we have the moon and the sun interacting in any kind of way, there is a realization of our past, a realization of our future, and what is left is us here in the present moment, realizing what it is that we have to move away from, let go from in a past sense in order to embody the qualities and characteristics in the here and now in order to align with our futuristic vision, with our futuristic goal. So the moon in Taurus sextiling with the sun in Cancer, this is definitely going to show us where it is, especially in our home, especially in our family dynamics, especially with the boundaries that are being tested right now. What feels good? What does not feel good? What brings us a sense of joy? What does not bring us a sense of joy? What it is that we want to build upon? What it is we need to destroy? Emotionally speaking, the sun in Cancer is getting us all up in our feels, very nostalgic. However, the moon in Taurus doesn't want to go that far back in the past and doesn't really want to go that far into the future. It wants to focus on the here and now. What's the point of crying over something that happened in the past? What is the point of having anxiety over something that hasn't happened yet in the future? What we need to be concentrated on is building a solid footing, foundation in our emotional field in the here and now to show attitude of gratitude to the things that are working, realizing what isn't working, putting that to the side for us to deal with on a different day. Mars, the god of war, in Aries energy, in his place of power, is making a not so nice aspect with the true node. The true node is our soul's path, our soul's destiny, where it is that we have to get on said path in order to bring our soul's mission, our soul's purpose into fruition. Mars being the god of war, again, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our action in order to pursue and aggress ourselves in the path and the direction of our new passion, of our new desires, of our new wanted experience. Popping off with the true note in this way can manifest in a couple of different reasons. First of all, we could be highly charged, highly excitable, ready to be the leadership role that we need to be in order to make things happen. We could be inspired, we could be motivated, we could be damn well and determined to not only sit with the plan, sit with the strategy, think it out, debate the consequences, but actually aggress oneself in the path and moving forward. Now, baby steps still count. Or it could manifest in all the wrong ways. It could be an outside trigger, an outside activation that's just frustrating the hell out of us. Could show us a block, show us a challenge, show us an obstacle, preventing us from moving on the path in which we desire, which should only act as a fuel source to continue to add gas to that inner desire, that inner spark, that inner fire, to keep us fired up, fueled up, ready to go and burn anything to the ground that stands between us and the situation, the end goal, the dream, the vision that we desire to be living in. The sun is going to semi-square Uranus. Now, this is where things get a little bit edgy, a little bit jittery. Uranian energy, typically speaking, affects the central nervous system, gives us anxiety, a little bit of the jitters. The sun, of course, shines a bright light on whatever it is that we got going on. The sun in Cancer is highly emotional, highly intuitive, super sensitive. The semi-square is not the nicest aspect, but again, we need a little bit of tension and conflict in our lives in order for us to realize where change is needed the most. But here's the thing. This particular aspect with Uranus being in Taurus, it does create a little bit of uneasiness. It does create the want, need, and desire to bust out of the routine, to bust out of the tunnel vision. But here's the thing. We also want to be productive. We want to see the changes. We want to see the productivity. We want to see the progress. We want to see the improvement. We are essentially emotionally ready to do what is necessary in order for us to create change. The problem here is that God forbid the change be forced upon us from an external force or circumstance. Meaning, if we are in a situation where we're the ones making the change, where we're the ones initiating it, where we're the ones breaking free of the mold, great, all for it. We're going to see some major action. But God forbid that the universe throw a wrench in your plans. God forbid that you have to take a detour. God forbid that your plans just fall through. The external change is not welcomed, is not wanted, is not needed. Now, we typically speaking could lose our shit. We could have a little bit of a tantrum. We could lose ourselves in an ego reactivity and totally make a mess for ourselves. Cry over spilled milk, so to speak. We have to recognize where it is that we feel in control and out of control. Where it is that new boundaries need to be implemented in our emotional field, in our mental field, in our physical circumstances, so that we don't get rocked right off of our rocker every single time something doesn't go our way. It's going to be hard to be aware of where it is that we are reactive instead of accepting the fact that we need to be the observer and respond to the universe in a way that shows that we are still emotionally in control. We have Venus semi-squaring Chiron right after this aspect, which isn't going to help this funk. It isn't going to help the anxiety. It isn't going to help us accepting change so well. Venus in Gemini, again, all in the mental plane, really wanting to try new things, kind of jumping all over the place, scatterbrained, multitasking, wants to socially connect, but again, emotionally detached enough to not get caught up in the feels of the debate. The semi-square is a conflict, is a tension point with Chiron, the wounded healer. And let me just say that this is likely going to illuminate the extreme differences, especially in our personal relationships. Now, this isn't going to feel good. It never feels good to realize that not only are you on the different page than your significant other, but y'all are in totally different books. This isn't going to feel nice. But here's the thing. The Gemini energy shows us extremes, shows us dualistic polarized extremes in thought, in emotion, in interest, in communication styles, everything, especially those top qualities that we need in order to make relationships work. Now, just because we are recognizing the extremes and the differences in relationships doesn't mean that they're a lost cause, because there's beauty in difference. The thing about this is that because we're in a funk, because we're highly agitated, because we're a little bit defensive, because we're a little bit, I'm going to say, rigid at this point, we could look at differences as a red flag for us to peace out, for us to turn around, for us to disconnect, cut the cord, and go. The beauty is in the differences. We just have to find how it is that we're going to willingly accept these differences and see them for the beauty in which they are, because everyone is different. It'd be pretty boring if we weren't drastically different. However, seeing the differences, pushing yourself to accept those differences, to find the beauty in those differences, is also going to illuminate for you where it is that some are just deal breakers. Okay? Again, we're amplifying the attention on who it is that we're actually sharing our time energy with, because as you know, eclipse season rocked relationships. Many people still not willing to accept the demise of certain relationships. And because of that, we really need to be illuminated to how big the gap is in some of our personal relationships in order for us to do the soul searching, the evolutionary work inside of us to try and compromise to meet these people halfway. It says a lot more about you than it does them when you are not willing to do the work within yourself to see if you can compromise within yourself to accept the differences and find beauty in them. So we got a lot of pressure here. And then the moon goes ahead and aspects Jupiter, who is a magnifier to whatever it is that we're thinking and feeling. Jupiter wants us to grow. He's pushing us to say, okay, look at the differences. There's a growth opportunity here. There's a learning opportunity here. You can expand your mind. You can expand your heart space. You can start a new chapter within yourself of trying to take the leadership role and find the beauty in the differences. Many of us are going to fail that challenge, I'll be honest with you, because the aspect that is currently taking place between the moon in Taurus and Jupiter in Aries is kind of putting a little bit of gasoline on the fire in our external realms, the triggers, the activations, the social relationship dynamics that are really in our face right now. Many of us, because of the stubbornness that comes with the Taurus energy, we are emotionally fixated. We are digging our feet in. Nope, not budging. Nope, not growing. Nope, not improving. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to feel the intensity, the urgency to do so, but you really are going to have to be a little bit more, I'm going to say, aware and tough love with yourself in order to recognize where it is that maybe you're the problem here. Maybe your lack of emotional depth is the problem. Maybe your unexpanded mind is the problem. We have to constantly keep ourselves in check. It's easy to look outside of us and kind of lay blame on other people. But we also have to be accountable and responsible to where it is that, you know what, we reach an uncomfortable wall in our thoughts and in our emotions. And then instead of pushing ourselves outside of that boundary to explore what could possibly be the root contributing primary factor of these thoughts and emotions, we just set up camp in our little four walls of comfortability and we think that everything is fine, everything is perfect. It's not us, it's them. We have to do the inner work ourselves. And any time that you cast a judgment call on another human being, that is merely a reflection of a deep-rooted wound and issue that you have under the surface in your unconscious self. So it's a good indicator to let other people who tick you off, who disgust you, who frustrate you, to irritate you, to act as the mirror for you to look inward and see where that actually stems from. The moon is going to bump into Saturn, 9:30 p.m. This is the last aspect of the day. Typically speaking, Saturn brings a little bit of a more somber attitude, a little bit more of a negative Nancy role. We definitely feel the weight, the commitment, the roles, the responsibilities of our lives on our shoulders. But in this particular instance, it is a positive aspect. So we are kind of growing a little bit more aware on the roles and responsibilities that we have within ourselves to do the work, within our personal relationships to do the work as a partnership to find that middle ground. And where it is that, socially speaking, because Saturn is in Aquarius, where we feel obligated to continue to do what is right for other people instead of doing what is right for us. The moon in Taurus is very me-centered, right? It's the second sign of the zodiac. So we're still building what is best for me. What do I feel comfortable with? What makes me happy? What do I find joy in? What brings me pleasure? Where do I find worth? Where do I find value? And Saturn over here, the Lord of Karma, ruling over systems, foundations, and structures, is retrograde, which means that we're reflecting over this past year and maybe where we didn't put ourselves first, maybe where we were too focused on making other people happy. And Saturn being in Aquarius is the collective. It is the social obligations that we feel like we have to keep up with, even if it means that we're sacrificing our own wants, needs, and desires. So as you can see, the energy of the day is really going to be a pressurized system, outside activator, in order for us to look inward. Us see in our inner realm where it is that we're willing to test the boundaries of our comfort zone, to really expose and expand our heart and our mind to a different perspective, or where it is that we're just going to kind of snap things up and say, you know what? No, I'm comfortable here. I'm just going to cuddle up here. Everything else will just sort itself out. They're wrong. I'm right. I don't need to do the work. They do. And just live in a comfy little space until all this friction passes. Now, heads up, the friction isn't going to pass until you do the inner realization and the inner work necessary in order for it to pass. So again, with the moon in Taurus, we tend to want to just sit in the here and now. We don't care about our futuristic responsibilities, commitments, relationships. We don't care about our past. We care about the here and now. So do what you can to find the happiness, the joy, the safety, the security, the stability in the here and now. But just realize that you can't stay in the here and now forever.